What's up guys, natural bodybuilders, welcome to this video. Today I want you to have massive shoulders, and so I want to talk about an exercise that I've actually mentioned in the last two videos that I made, or the last videos basically. I talked about lateral raises quite a lot, explaining my experience with them, how I really improved a lot my shoulders, my width, thanks to lateral raises, especially when I was in boarding school. And I told you this story basically in one of the last videos on how to go heavy when you don't have a lot of weights, choosing exercises where you can go heavy, not with a lot of weights, and lateral raises were one of these exercises that I had to do when I was in a situation where I didn't have a lot of weight and still wanted to improve. So at this time, I was hammering lateral raises, trying to do a lot of sets because that was the only exercise that I could do. So my volume in lateral raises was quite high. And I never improved as much as I did at this time. So obviously I was doing something like 15 sets of lateral raises, maybe up to 20. But I was intermediate at the time already. So, that might sound like a lot, obviously. I wouldn't advise this to any beginners or like most intermediates. I was just very, very motivated, and my life was a lot around gymming. So I could, allow myself to do this much volume on only one exercise. But today, obviously, lateral raises is a great exercise, and I do owe my progress on shoulders, not just because of lateral raises, but how I approached the exercise of lateral raises, which unfortunately I see a lot of people not approaching lateral raises that way, and so they never really fully benefit from this excellent exercise that are lateral raises. So there are people in the industry and in the gym who are like passionate about the strict form, how to be super strict, and it's like their religion, how to be strict and not basically cheat at all, like not even a little bit, and scared of putting too heavy and would rather go very light to not take the risk of slightly injuring or whatever. And lateral raises is like one of these exercises where this is like literally the strict form king of the exercises for a lot of people who strict form is their religion. Lateral raises, you really don't want to mess it up there, because that's understandable in a sense and logical that this is one of the exercises where the strict form religion people want to be strict, because that's an exercise where obviously the shoulders can be quite fragile, and you don't want to hurt yourself for a small muscle like lateral raises, your articulations, your joints, etc. So it's understandable, but at the same time, some people, they just take it too far, and obviously that's something that is very widespread now in the industry, that in general, isolation exercise, there is like an idea that you can't go heavy on isolation exercise, basically. Like compounds are like for heavy and isolation are for light. Again, light and heavy doesn't really mean anything, because some people, for example, who bench 100 kg will do 20 reps and they will feel light for them because they're very strong. So lightweight is actually a heavy weight for most people. So light and heavy, again, doesn't really mean anything. That's what light basically to you subjectively, and so the light and heavy debate really annoys me usually. But basically for lateral raises and most of the isolation exercises, there is this idea that you can't go past a certain weight. And so even if one person could have the potential to add a lot of weight on lateral raises and that wouldn't really be heavy for him, for some reason he will stop at a certain weight, because that's popularized that, for example, above 14 or 12 kg lateral raises you shouldn't go heavier, because then you're risking yourself to to be injured, etc. The truth is, as long as you're building your way up to make lateral raises that are heavy light for you, that's fine. Lateral bodybuilding is a long journey experience, and you build strength and muscle pretty slowly, unlike steroid users. So steroid users have they're likely to get injured because their muscle is growing so much faster than, you know, the joints and the tendons. Not yet the tendons. And so obviously they don't strengthen as much as they should, and the muscle can lift, you know, much more weight than what their tendons could follow up with, so they get injured, tendonitis, or, you know, they just pull a muscle, etc. They put too heavy and it's not mature enough. But with natural bodybuilding, because it takes time and you do things the normal way, these risks are like so little. And so with lateral raises, you're gonna improve over time, over, you know, the patience, basically. Over time you're gonna be patient with it and you're gonna improve at the right rhythm. And so it's not because you try to basically improve on lateral raises even to unpopular weights that, the strict form people will basically defend you to go for. It's not because you go for these weights that you will get injured, basically. And so, today, for example, you might be doing 6 kg lateral raises, and that's considered a pretty lightweight. But you should try one day to aim to do the way you do your 6 kg lateral raises with 20 kg in each hand. If one day you can actually manage to make 20 kg on each hand lateral raises the way it feels today when you use 6 kg, why wouldn't you do it? Your tendons and everything around your shoulders will be solid enough because, you'll do this over maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years of training. It will be a slow approach, but a solid approach. And you will build a resistance to be able to do this. You'll have enough muscle to carry this weight, and the tendons and everything around your shoulders will follow up. So there shouldn't be such a thing as lateral raises that are too heavy, because if progression happens, what's heavy today for you will become light at some point. And a lot of people on these isolation exercises like lateral raises that are guarded by, unfortunately, the religious strict form people, unfortunately, if you follow their path, you're putting a lot of gains, out of the table. You're just basically missing out on a lot of gains because you're improving maybe until 10 or 12 kg doing sets of 20, and because you think you shouldn't go heavier in lateral raises, you're actually not gonna do that. And it's like you'll always do lateral raises, but like just for the sake of it, without trying to actually improve more than that, even though you actually can. And that's a mistake. I think that you should try to go heavy in lateral raises. I'm not saying that you should cheat or anything like this. And although I used to cheat on lateral raises and try to go heavy for like 6 or 8 reps, I'm not saying it's the best approach. I don't think you should particularly do this. Obviously, if you wanna, I do think that going for strength work and try to go for low reps as well as obviously higher reps, to hit the hypertrophy and enough time under tension, etc., is important. And I think that the strength work over time helps you getting stronger quicker, and so to build muscle quicker using this strength that you acquire for your hypertrophy work. But if you're generally scared of shoulders, and maybe you have, I don't know, shoulders potential issues, or you have a past for that, sure, you can go for higher reps, which means you won't go for heavy sets that using very heavy weight for you at a time that could be dangerous. And you can still improve with high rep schemes, and that's totally fine, and maybe that's the right solution for you. At the end of the day, the best thing you can do in bodybuilding is to last on the long term. And it's still true in a sense that lateral raises, going heavy and cheating the way you could do maybe on some barbell curls for biceps, could be more dangerous. And it's not advised to do this particularly, and I'm not gonna be the one to advise you to go, you know, for 6 reps on your lateral raises. You have to know yourself well, you know, to know if you can do this, and you know, all these factors like warming up very well, being aware of yourself when you do these things are important. And so I won't be able to give you an advice like this. There are too many parameters that you need to know about yourself, whether you can enjoy heavy lateral raises, you know, for pretty low reps or not. But otherwise, improving on high rep schemes is very possible as well, as long as you track. Anyway, what you should do though is that you should improve over time on lateral raises, and even if you improve on high rep schemes, at some point you will, for example, do, you know, high reps with 15 kg on each end, and maybe 20 and maybe 25 if you're super advanced and you get better and better. It's not impossible, it just takes a lot of time. But you shouldn't limit yourself and think there is a certain weight, for example, in lateral raises, that you can't go above, like, you know, 12 kg, for example, like a 10 kg. You're putting a lot of gains on the table. So sure, if you don't want to improve with, you know, heavy lateral raises where you go for like low rep ranges, that's totally fine. Go for higher reps because you feel more comfortable with it, and you'll still be able to improve. Maybe you might not improve as fast as if you're doing some strength work on lateral raises, but who cares? Again, because if you get injured one day, obviously you're gonna stop for 6 months, and you know, in the end you're gonna waste more time than if you're doing, you know, maybe things in a less risky way. But at the same time, don't be like caught up in like the very strict form and actually like you know, not improving at all because you think that you have to be super strict. Sometimes being hyper strict is actually probably more dangerous than like having a very tiny amount of like, you know, momentum with the movement. So, you know, the super strict form people don't get it all right. So what I want you to think about today is that isolation movement also can be used to go pretty heavy on movements. And actually, when I started going pretty heavy on isolation movements, I started really improving even more. That's not just for compound movements. As long as you warm up well, etc., that this is the good exercise selection for you. Normally, you shouldn't get injured. And so, you know, go heavy for lateral raises over time. What's heavy for you today, maybe 10 kg lateral raises, will be light one day, and you might be able to do 50 reps with it. And so improve on high rep schemes if you feel more comfortable with it, but improve anyway, and try to one day lift heavy lateral raises over time. You shouldn't stop yourself at what people say in the fitness industry. So that was my advice for lateral raises, guys. I really hope you know, take this advice, and not forget to not limit yourself for isolation exercise like this one. And that will be it. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did so, feel free to leave a comment, to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be here to help you out for any questions that might be there for you to help you in your journey. Bye bye.